That was a scene from my next guest's role in the new film, In the Heights. The majority Latino cast in the film stands out in a moment when Hollywood Latino actors have very little visibility. The film, adapted from the musical by Quiera Alegría Judez and Hamilton co-creator Lin-Manuel Miranda, tells the stories of a generation of residents and business owners in New York City's Washington Heights. During production, Miranda and Judez fought to achieve portrayals of Latinos that defy stereotypes. They moved away from the worn-out tropes typically seen in blockbuster movies and instead celebrated the community. Joining me again is Maria Hinojosa, president and founder of Futuro Media, actor and author of Once I Was You, a memoir of love and hate in a torn America. Maria, I have to say, I watched this in one of the pre-screenings, and when you came out on there and had a conversation and you were that leader trying to organize DACA recipients, I was filled with joy. Talk to me a little bit about that experience.
Oh my God, sweetie. Well, people who know me know that about 40 years ago, I came to New York to be an actor. But I turned into a journalist. And so this is my message to everybody out there, really, is like never give up on a dream. Just never give up on a dream. And I think, you know, In the Heights in many ways is never give up on a dream. I mean, this has been in creation for so long. I mean, it starts in Lin-Manuel's dorm room in Wesleyan, you know, slowly makes its way off Broadway, gets on Broadway, and many stops and starts to get to this actual point. And then it's a pandemic. It's like, are you kidding me? It's a pandemic. So right now, you're right. This is a film that is helping to change the narrative entirely about who we are. You know, I lived in Washington Heights, Maria Teresa, and I'm just like, yeah, this is a film. It's a musical. But you know what? We were dancing like in the, you know, below in the basement areas of our apartment buildings. We were having parties. People were dancing on the fire escapes. We were, in fact, making music wherever we were. And also, it was a community that was really challenged. I mean, when I was living there in the 1980s, this is when crack was flooded into this neighborhood. And you know why? Because it was easy to get in and out of Washington Heights. And that's why they allowed the drugs to flood into our communities. It wasn't us. It was easy drug dealing for outsiders coming into our communities. This is a movie, you know, Maria Teresa, that is finally saying, es que this is who we are. Okay, yes, we don't all dance all the time.
But we do.
This is the narrative.
But we do. You know, what I love is when people ask me, well, you know, how is your Thanksgiving different from ours? And I say, well, we eat our turkey and then we move the table and we dance salsa and merengue. I mean, we actually do that. But what I loved about this film was the nuance in the characters. I identified so much with the young women because it was so much my experience of one young woman who's the first person in her family to go to college and feeling that sense of being imposter, and that other young woman who wanted to be able to exercise her artistic abilities based on her talent, not because she was Latina. And then there was also the young man who found out that he was a dreamer. He was undocumented, so he wasn't able to pursue his dreams. Talk about those nuances, because I think that's what really captures the essence of being Latino in America.
So I want to give a big shout out to the screenwriter. Mm-hmm. People are like, John Chu, oh my God. He's extraordinary, by the way. I love you, John Chu. Lin-Manuel, no se diga, obviamente. Mm-hmm. But Quiera Alegría Judez is the one who writes this screenplay. And so every single word that you see there, which to me is poetry, is because it came through her. And what she did is actually take a script that was written for the stage and adapt it to a very 2020, 2021 reality. There was no undocumented storyline in the play. Quiera made that happen in this film because we needed to talk about what's happening now. And I think that the reaction that you're seeing from Latinos and Latinas and other people, allies across the country, are just saying, it's helping us to understand what that feels like. Gregory Diaz, who plays this character, is a star on his own. I mean, I think that's another beautiful thing, Maria Teresa, is that a lot of these actors were unknown, really. So I guess the biggest name would have been Mark Anthony in many ways, or Olga Merediz, who's been around for a long time, or Jimmy Smits. But there's a lot of love in terms of giving many Latinos and Latinas voice. And by the way, I want to address the criticism because I know it's out there. And I think everybody involved with this film, I just had an hour-long conversation with my daughter about this as well. Yes, people want that we live in a very critical time in our country. the idea and the notion of talking about not having enough Black, Latino, Afro-Latino presence is real and has to be heard. And I think it really is being heard deeply. At the same time, I think what we understand is that there's a lot of critique, but there's a lot of love, Maria Teresa. And I think that's because it's doing what you and I try to do as journalists, as in our work, you in Voto Latino and on MSNBC, which is to correct a narrative. And we can do both things. We can hear a critical voice and say, yes, we have to think about giving more visibility to Afro-Latinos. And we can go celebrate this movie, have a great time, be dancing, screaming in the aisles the way people were. By the way, take your tissues.
Take your tissues. And Maria, I want to ask you another question, because I think one of the challenges we see is the lack of representation in Hollywood, that there is less than 7%, I believe, Hollywood in executive positions on film, yet we are 20% of the population. Oftentimes, you and I have spoken that it's the lack of this representation that allows the stereotypes and allows bad politicians to rise because people don't know who we are. How is this different?
Well, I think this is different because there was a very concerted effort to, again, bring our community in all of its beauty and simplicity. There's a couple of words that I want to say that are actually written by Chiara, which is, small ways of asserting our dignity, little details that show the world that we are not invisible. And if you look at this film and you see some of those little details, there's these beautiful scenes where they're just shooting our food, ropa vieja, una empanada. And you're like, how can this be so beautiful? That's what makes this film different, is those little details made of love for Latinos and Latinas, immigrants, and all of us.
Maria Hinojosa, mil gracias. And she's absolutely right. Go watch In the Heights, bring tissue.